The Norwegian Sea, August 24th, 2025. Cold waters churn beneath a sky of low clouds. On the surface, the world's most powerful warship, the USS Gerald R. Ford, America's newest supercarrier, cuts silently through the waves. But beneath her hull, in the dark abyss, something unseen may be stalking. NATO forces are on edge. For 2 days straight, aircraft and ships have surged into action. The target? A suspected Russian Yazan-class nuclear submarine, one of the deadliest predators in the sea. This is the story of a modern-day cat-and-mouse hunt of sonar buoys, stealth maneuvers, and a razor-thin margin between dominance and disaster. Stay tuned, and before we dive in, hit like, subscribe, and ring the notification bell so you never miss a deep dive from Naval Brief. That IT began with faint signals, whispers in the sonar, and electronic patterns hinting that a Russian submarine was operating dangerously close to NATO's most valuable asset, the USS Gerald R. Ford Carrier Strike Group. Reports confirmed that all 3 Yazan-class subs of Russia's northern fleet, Severodvinsk, Kazan, and Arkhangelsk, were at sea. Each is armed with Caliber cruise missiles and long-range torpedoes, designed to hunt carriers. The suspicion that one of them was tailing the Ford was enough to send NATO into high alert. For context, Yazan-class subs are often called carrier killers. They are fast, quiet, and packed with firepower. If left undetected, one submarine could potentially put an entire carrier strike group in danger. For NATO, this wasn't just routine surveillance, it was a matter of survival. Within hours, the skies above the Norwegian Sea filled with aircraft. The Royal Air Force, U.S. Navy, and Norwegian patrol squadrons launched a relentless search. Over the next 48 hours, NATO flew 27 maritime patrol sorties, a staggering tempo. U.S. Navy P-8 Poseidon aircraft dropped strings of sonobuoys across suspected submarine lanes. British Rivet Joint and Norwegian Orion planes swept the seas with radar and electronic sensors. At the same time, destroyers and frigates in the Ford Strike Group shifted into anti-submarine posture. Their towed sonar arrays trailed through the water, listening for the faint acoustic signature of a Yazan's propeller. Observers described the tempo as wartime intensity. Every contact was investigated, every anomaly tracked. Submarine hunting is unlike any other kind of warfare. There are no explosions lighting the horizon, no missiles streaking across the sky. Instead, it is a battle of patience, silence, and sound. NATO aircraft orbited at high altitude, dropping sonobuoys that parachuted into the sea, each one activating with a splash. Below the waves, they sent out pings, listening for echoes that could betray a submarine's location. But Yazan-class submarines are masters of stealth, coated in sound-absorbing tiles, designed with advanced quieting technology. They move like shadows. Detecting one requires skill, persistence, and sometimes luck. According to reports, NATO employed hammering tactics, repeated, overlapping sweeps designed to overwhelm a submarine's ability to hide. Like beating drums in the deep, the pings of sonar filled the water column, searching every possible route the intruder might take. Meanwhile, on board the USS Gerald R. Ford, every sailor knew the stakes. The Ford is not just a warship, it is a floating city of over 4,500 crew and air wing personnel. Losing track of a hostile submarine could mean leaving the Navy's crown jewel vulnerable. The operation wasn't conducted in secret. Russia's own patrol aircraft shadowed NATO's efforts, broadcasting a clear message. Moscow was watching. For NATO, the timing couldn't have been more tense. The Ford's presence in the Norwegian Sea was meant to project strength, demonstrating to Russia that the alliance could operate close to the Arctic with impunity. But Yazan lurking nearby threatened to flip the narrative, turning power projection into a potential liability. This was not the first time such a standoff had occurred. During the Cold War, the Norwegian Sea was a frequent hunting ground for US and Soviet subs. But in recent years, with Russia's submarine fleet modernizing, these encounters have grown more dangerous. The Yazan is quieter than older designs, with longer-range weapons that can strike from beyond traditional defensive screens. For the sailors in the Ford Strike Group, the scenario was chillingly simple. A hostile submarine in striking distance of the carrier. The response highlighted NATO's greatest strength, alliance coordination. British Poseidons flew side by side with U.S. patrol planes. Norwegian Orions crisscrossed the search zones, relaying data in real time to NATO's Maritime Operations Center. Warships from multiple nations shared sonar tracks and acoustic profiles, feeding a common operational picture. This wasn't just one navy against one submarine, it was a coalition pooling assets, tactics, and technology. It mattered. Each sonobuoy dropped, each radar sweep, each sonar contact narrowed the window in which a Yazan could maneuver unseen. It was a web tightening around an intruder in the deep. By the second night of operations, the hunt had turned into a relentless pursuit. Aircraft refueled, rearmed, and launched again. Ships maintained 24-hour sonar coverage. The pressure on the suspected Russian crew must have been immense. Imagine being inside that submarine. The steady ping of sonars echoing in the hull. The constant awareness that you are being hunted by dozens of aircraft and warships. The ocean is vast, but under such scrutiny, it can feel like a cage. At one point, sources suggested the submarine may have been forced to change depth and course abruptly to avoid detection. Whether NATO achieved full tracking is unclear, but the sheer intensity of the operation sent a message. To some, this was just another military maneuver in distant waters. But in reality, it was a rehearsal for the unthinkable. A U.S. carrier group represents unmatched naval power. Russia's Yazan subs represent one of the few tools that could threaten that power. Every cat and mouse chase in the Norwegian Sea is more than just training, it's a test of readiness. A demonstration of resolve. The outcome? No shots fired. No explosions. Just silence, persistence, and deterrence. And yet, in that silence, the message was unmistakable. NATO is watching. NATO is ready. And NATO will not allow its carriers to be shadowed without challenge. By the end of 48 hours, NATO had completed its surge of sorties and maintained round-the-clock surveillance. The suspected submarine? Official reports are careful, never confirming a catch. But the mere fact that so many resources were deployed shows the seriousness of the threat. The Ford continued her operations, unimpeded, a symbol of American sea power in contested waters. Russia's submarine fleet, meanwhile, was reminded of the risks of pressing too close. The incident closed without a headline clash, but for those involved, the pilots who dropped sonobuoys into the Black Sea, the sonar operators are straining for faint echoes, the sailors aboard the Ford, it was an encounter they won't soon forget. The hunt for a suspected Russian submarine near the USS Gerald R. Ford was more than a military exercise. It was a warning, a rehearsal, and a glimpse into the silent chess match unfolding beneath the waves. Anchor this is Naval Brief, your briefing room for sea power and defense analysis. If you're all hands on deck for real naval operations, maritime conflict, and global defense, subscribe and stay mission ready for the next briefing.